Common sense tells us that every possible Superman story that could ever be told has already been told 10 times over. But Grant Morrison put new life back into this character, ironically, by putting him in the face of death back in 2005 with All-Star Superman. This book is a really great interpretation of Superman, and it acts as heavy inspiration for James Gunn's 2025 Superman film. Back in 2023, when he revealed his plans for the DCU, he spoke of making Superman Legacy, and this was the picture he used when describing the film. The front cover of All-Star Superman. It's one of my favorite stories. Y'all know me. I got the books. I got book 1 and book 2, so let's talk about it. When a scientist named Leo Quintum and his team try to steal energy from the sun, they're sabotaged by a rigged time bomb genetically modified being, courtesy of Lex Luthor. Now, this was all a trap by Lex to lure Superman into saving Dr. Quintum and his team. And it worked. Superman showed up and saved them. But in doing so, his body became oversaturated by solar energy from being so close to the sun. This oversaturation tripled his strength and powers, making him damn near invincible, even immune to kryptonite. But at the same time, the oversaturation is causing his cells to burst. His body can't handle it. He's literally dying. You could honestly call this story the death of Superman, as each issue kind of acts like a countdown. But instead of something dark and morbid and sad in each issue, it's actually compelling the way it celebrates Clark's life and his boundless love for his family, friends, and Earth. One of the first things he does is reveal his identity to Lois, and not only lets her into his world by bringing her to the Fortress of Solitude, revealing all his secrets and showing her around. And sidebar, just real quick, I love how he's got a giant penny in the fortress, just like Batman has a giant penny in the Batcave. And Clark's giant penny has the Joker's face on it, saying, "The bad penny, good for one crime, Joker." I'd like to know the story behind that. But he also gives Lois an exogene formula that will allow her to duplicate his powers for 24 hours. It's things like this that makes more creative focus shifts. We see dog walking feats like Superman arm wrestling both Samson and Atlas at the same time, but also heartfelt romance with him and Lois kissing on the moon, and them sitting on a rooftop in the city with her finally understanding who he really is. And every issue balances out the stories like this. Number 6 tells the story of a multi-dimensional time eater attacking Smallville, and Clark and his descendants have to stop it. But see, the heart of the story is really a boy, his dad, their farm, their life, and that the fact is, in life, no one escapes death. They're all heartfelt like this. It's a perfect balance. See, a lot of people don't like Superman. A lot of people don't like Superman because they feel like that he's boring or uninteresting or too overpowered to the point where it makes him uninteresting. But honestly, people who don't like the character because of these reasons, number one, I feel like a lot of people don't read Superman stories in general, but especially those people who say he's boring or he's too overpowered or he's just not interesting. This book completely overpowers him while still managing to humanize him, having him doubt himself and try to get his affairs in order, while at the same time giving us stories that involve villains like Bizarro, Parasite, or even Lex Luthor, who really acts as a surrogate for the Superman haters out there. Lex kind of reveals himself in this story. Why he really hates Superman is because he has a feeling like no man can possibly measure up to him. He feels like it's unfair to have someone like Superman existing. Lex hates Superman because his very existence makes him feel inferior. Lex Luthor has billions of dollars. He owns half of Metropolis, and even with all his greatest achievements, he still, at the end of the day, cannot bend steel or fly. He can't see the whole world in a single minute. He can't do any of the things Superman can do. He feels like he falls short, and that causes deep resentment. Lex Luthor is the epitome of selfishness. And one of the most quotable lines of the story, Lex receives Superman's powers, same as Lois, for a couple hours, And when it runs out due to his own selfish neglect, he proclaims Superman is the reason he could never save the world. To which Superman responds saying, if it really mattered to you, you could have saved the world years ago. And see, I like that because this is what Superman represents for this entire story and what he's represented since his creation. Even on an even playing field, Superman will always solo, not because of how strong he is, but because of who he is. Where Lex has always been the embodiment of man's selfish ambition, Superman always rises above. That flying high above in the clouds is not just Superman's most enviable power. It's an analogy for the ideology Superman represents as a symbol, an idea that's not unreachable, but inspirational. And that is Superman's legacy. One of my favorite monologues comes from Man of Steel when Jor-El is talking to Clark and he says this.
You will give the people of Earth an ideal to strive towards. They will race behind you. They will stumble. They will fall. But in time, they will join you in the sun count. In time, you will help them accomplish wonders.
It's a speech taken right out of All-Star Superman. This speech is the truest thesis for Superman. It's why he endures, why he isn't corny or boring or uninteresting. Let me tell y'all something. James Gunn taking inspiration from this book just goes to show that he's creating a movie that is going to show Superman as he's meant to be. And I'm all for that. Guys, you can also watch the animated movie All-Star Superman. It's pretty good. I love the animation, honestly. I love how the animation looks more than the comic book artwork. It's amazing voice acting, and it almost adapts the exact same story word for word. Now, the movie does leave a lot out. It's more straightforward than the book is. One of my favorite moments from the book is when Superman saves a teenager who's about to commit suicide. That's something completely taken out of the film, along with a number of other things like Superman fighting Bizarro or Jimmy Olsen Doomsday. But overall, it tells a good story that shows Clark bringing out the best in people through kindness and forgiveness. So you should definitely check that out. I would highly recommend the movie. Guys, this was All-Star Superman. I kind of wanted to start doing this on Tuesdays, back issue Tuesdays, just going over different back issue comics every Tuesday. I wanted to start with this because it's, you know, the new Superman movie that's coming out is going to be taking inspiration from this story. So I kind of just wanted to briefly talk about it. It's such a great story. I'm not a huge fan of the artwork, like I just said. It's interesting, but like the characters' faces, it's not bad. I'm just not a huge fan of it. But overall, the story is wonderful. And when you have such a good story with so many good characters, you can overlook something as simple as the artwork. You know what I mean? Let me know down below if you know anything about All-Star Superman. What did you think about it? And again, let me know how hype y'all are for this new Superman movie. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.